On paper, I Got a Cheat Skill in Another World Episode 2 functions like a traditional, well, ugly character became hot, now everything is starting to fall into his lap. But in actuality, I would argue Episode 2 did what a lot of isekais kind of fail to remember to do, which is if you're going to start a show off with a character who clearly is dealing with depression, I imagine some thoughts about not wanting to continue to live just given the hell he was going through. Just because now he has this body that is literally, people think he's a K-pop star, right? Like, he is clearly hot in this world. And everyone, in terms of we can see, like, are just enthralled and just dumbfounded that someone like him could exist because he seems too perfect. Yet what they do is they let Yuuya, as a character, not accept that. From his point of view, when he walks into a new class, and everyone isn't saying anything, he feels awkward. He feels like, yep, they're judging me, I'm just the weirdo. And in actuality, we see it from their perspective, oh shit, he's hot. That's literally their reaction. It took him an entire day after basically the girl he saved in the first episode, her dad is the chairman of this very prestigious school. She comes in and says, oh wow, you slimmed down. It's a very funny fat joke. She's like, yeah, you definitely slimmed down, but you know what? You help me, I'm gonna help you. She brings him to this school where students actually care to learn. Apparently they have the best menu imaginable, that everything costs $5 or the daily specials free, and you get more food than I could probably eat in a couple meals. The fact that over the course of this entire day, it took him to the very end that he could finally say, maybe I can come to this school. And he's not healed. He still feels like he isn't good enough, that he's not worthy. And if it wasn't for the chairman in this episode reminding him of his grandfather, the only adult in his life that treated him like a person, there's no way he would have accepted it. You had a girl, he had this cute anime girl saying, hey, you saved me, I'm gonna hook you up. Most isekais would just let him say, cool, that works, I have abs now, everything works out. I saw some people last week criticize the fact that he didn't realize his face changed until he got to school, but to me that was actually an amazing part to his character. Yes, he recognized that he had abs and he was no longer overweight, but the fact that he hated looking at himself in the mirror, the thought of his face not being repulsive, he didn't want to see his face. It just didn't cross his mind. And while yes, from an outsider looking in, we could say, how could you not think that? But we're not dealing with the hell of parents literally trying to abandon you and seriously just ruining your life at every which moment. To see a character like him actually feel like the trauma remains is what separates I Got a Cheat Skill in Another World Episode 2 from a lot of shows that do start off with a trauma-filled MC, but usually almost immediately they just say, well, I'm hot now, nothing's suffering, so therefore I'm rocking this and it's okay. Full live reaction though is available on my Patreon if you do want to see my full uncut thoughts. On one hand, I would say there's a missed opportunity to not keep him overweight at this school and to see the type of what could happen in that situation. But I think it does work well given what they have established, because here's the thing, right? We have a character who now is hot. He could probably have any single person at that school if he wanted to have a relationship, and everyone would just think he's the hottest thing around. But the idea of having someone who, over the course of now looking beautiful at this school, he's going to slowly but surely progress in this fantasy world more. As basically we see him at the end of this episode, and there's a little moment after the credits, where he finally goes beyond the gate. Because up to this point, he was basically, if the monsters came, he would attack, but he was fearful to progress forward. What they're clearly doing here is that as he becomes more comfortable as a person at the school and develops a school life there, he also will feel more comfortable progressing further in this fantasy world, and obviously the juggling of balancing two different worlds and honestly, you could say two different identities is something that's going to be fun to follow, especially given the fact that he seemingly, I would assume, saved a princess, or at the very least someone who's very powerful, given that she had an army of guards here that were looking for her. Though it's pretty cool that he had basically a chameleon skin that he could activate and could go invisible as he disappeared. The obvious route they would probably go in that moment is that whether next episode or the episode after, probably her and the guards will come looking for him because she'll know the general area, they'll discover his hut, and he'll be like, wait a second, what's going on? And he'll probably start developing like, hey, do you want to be a knight in my guard or something, right? That's kind of the direction it feels like they'd want to go in that case, where with the school setting, they're trying to develop him of actually having a good life. The only surprising thing is that the siblings who got absolutely decimated, who were like, hey, don't take this trash, take us, we're smarter, we're more athletic, and she's like, yeah, we don't want you, I investigated you, you're basically maggots. Like, it's a little more blunt the way I put it, but that's basically how they were treated, and I loved it, because I did not like the siblings in the last episode. I don't like them now, but I was surprised that they didn't torch his home after basically being escorted to the most prestigious school around. I'm very interested to see, because it's not often you have a show where you can teleport yourself to another world back and forth through this magical gateway, and the fact that he's going to have 2 different lives. It's not something you see often, and it's a mechanic that is intriguing. The fact that he has the cash out mechanic was the only reason he could probably afford that $8 crepe. I mean, he was enjoying it, but he was definitely sweating given the fact that in the first episode we see he was giving all his money to bullies, and he was probably eating a single cup ramen a day. Like, obviously, it's a lot different now being able to have these amazing meals at school, some of which are free, and be able to actually enjoy your after-school money. Like, it's just nice to see him. On paper, like I say, episode 2 functions like a traditional second episode. Reincarnated or hot guy now goes to an anime school where everyone wants to bang him. But at the end of the day, the thing that kept this second episode going is the fact that he felt like someone who was bullied his whole life. Someone who suffered as much as he has, from thugs to family members to the one person who gave him hope in life no longer being there. Just because he can look at himself in the mirror and see what should be a hot anime character, to him, all he sees is how he was treated his entire life, and that is someone that is beneath everyone. Someone to be used and abused, and that's why, whether it's Kaori or it's her chairman father saying, you belong here, he doesn't feel that way because all his life he was treated like garbage. It will take him a long time before he doesn't feel that way. And while he's making small baby steps over the course of this episode, he still has a long way to go, and to me, that's worth complimenting. I can watch generic isekai, I can watch generic fantasy shows, and sometimes I enjoy them just because it's fun to watch a simplistic show from time to time. But I don't think I Got a Cheat Skill in Another World is one of those shows. It is familiar on paper, but the thing that usually makes or break a show like this is how much you care about the main character. And what I said in my first impressions with episode 1 is that I actually felt like he deserved the power-up. I was like, this dude had a horrible life. The fact that when no one else was trying to help a girl getting absolutely attacked by a group of thugs, he was the only one to stand up. This dude deserved that second chance, and I like the fact that they're just not magically making him heal, because that's not how it would work for someone who actually experienced trauma his entire life. The only way it would make sense is if he was bullied for a week and then got hot. Then yeah, maybe magically flipping the switch would make sense. But that's not what they're doing with Yuuya, and that's what makes this intriguing. He also kind of feels like the guy who, even though obviously will have a harem brewing around him, that he actually feels like someone who would not want to take advantage of multiple people and would probably confess to one person potentially, but I guess we'll see. Let me know what you're thinking though down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel, and of course, as I mentioned, we do have that full live reaction available on my Patreon if you're interested. And while you're there, you can also get a video shout out. So today, we have a Shadow Cyber Demon, Squelligton, and the Improvement Lab. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.